Greetings, ghouls and goblins, away the universe and what you know, and it's time for more Lazyween with a new installment. This time of a children's horror film, and to be honest with you, I was gonna do a multi-review of all three movies, but then I decided, no, I'll do like one movie per year or one movie per couple of years, and this is one that a lot of people, including myself and animation lovers, love because it was a lot better than we ever was expecting it to turn out as basically a kid-friendly horror film. It technically does still fall out under the horror category for what it's done and everything. So I'm here talking about the original. I know this is a 3 DVD collection, but I'm going to be talking about the original Hotel Transylvania. So this is going to be my review or perspective overview of the original Hotel Transylvania movie, and for those of you that haven't seen it yet, just a warning, there might be spoilers. So just to be forewarned with people, spoilers, once again, so if you haven't seen the original Hotel Transylvania and you want to watch this review, just be forewarned, there might be some slight spoilers. This movie is 12 years old, believe it or not, which is kind of surprising that it still holds up a legacy to the day of people saying that this is one of the greatest animation films ever made. It's directed by Gendy Tartakovsky, who people might mostly remember from Primal, Dexter's Laboratory, and probably even more famous, Samurai Jack, as he's one of the most lead animation directors with a very unique art style that not too many people have seen, but he's one of the most creative directors in this category for having such a unique but also memorable art style. And so he wanted to create his own basically kid-friendly film or film series, which has now gone to a quadrilogy. Is it called? What there's four films? Is that what it's called? Quadrilogy. A couple of years ago, I think, when he finally finished it off, unless he had more things planned. Now, I remember hearing about this and I thought, there is no way that they could pull this off magically. Boy, I was wrong, and boy, was I stupid for thinking so. And a lot of people have picked on the voice actors that they had in it, primarily Adam Sandler, but to be quite fair, every single voice cast member, especially Adam Sandler, did a stupendous job at making this such a magnificent film in this regard. So, let's take a closer look at Hotel Transylvania, shall we? I'd make an Eagles reference, but I can't think of one right now. I love how Hotel Transylvania opens up very much like horror movie wise. Like it's getting ready to set you up for a horror film that about a kid being eaten, and then it's just Dracula. I love how the film showed off that Dracula is a single father. He's just trying to raise his daughter Mavis to the best of his ability because his wife is unfortunately and sadly no longer with them. So to keep Mavis and other monsters safe, he creates a hotel, naming it Hotel Transylvania, which is a place that only monsters can find and only available for monsters to stay at. The film actually has a legitimate good reason into why the hotel is only for monsters and why Count Dracula made this hotel. It is sad, I will admit that the reveal is sad, but I will come back to that in just a little bit here. But I do love the fact that he had this entire place for monsters. It kind of feels like the animated Addams Family, where it's like nobody can find this household except for one terrifying mistake. Because the troll that made it told Count Dracula that he should not use fireworks, a large bonfire, anything that involves fire in it. So he manages to trick his daughter into going into a village, which is basically what he set it up as a village, and then the whole place catches on fire. Because he wanted to teach his daughter Mavis that humans were bad and humans were terrible. Yes, in fact, this film conquered and handled racism in the most unique and creative way possible. Like, they know that this is a kid-friendly film, they know it had to tackle racism, and they do such a great job at creating such a unique world to tackle the topic of racism. Even the way that how Dracula describes humans is also very much kind of in that racist tone of his, and that he's pointing out that humans will always be evil to monsters. That is until he meets a character known as Jonathan, and honestly, Dracula and Jonathan are complete opposites, but that's what makes the relationship for the most part work. And I love how the writing team, especially Gendy Tartakovsky in particular, were kind of like, how can I make this character different than Dracula? and he does a wonderful job at making sure that Dracula and Jonathan are one and the same, but two sides of a different coin, and it's very creative. Dracula is much more like a control freak. He likes to have everything organized. He likes to have everything according to its schedule. He likes to make sure that everything is well taken care of, especially himself, his daughter Mavis, because of course he's the father, so his daughter comes first, and also the hotel that he runs. But just as creatively, they decided to make Jonathan almost the same as Dracula, except that he's fun loving, he's caring, but he doesn't follow any rules. He just follows his own rule himself. And to which Jonathan has a very unhealthy relationship with his backpack that all three movies point out very respectively. If like he doesn't go nowhere without it, and the film never quite explains why. Basically, the way that the trilogy kind of handled it is that like he carries everything in his backpack. So do I, but I don't have an unhealthy relationship with my backpack. But also, what's creative is that Dracula knows that the monsters will turn against Jonathan and do evil things to him. Again, much like segregation and racism that still even exist all these years later, which is sad, but it is very, very true. And so he creates humorous ways to kind of, well, so to speak, kind of hide Johnny from the rest of them. Because Johnny is, well, stupid, he dresses him up as Frankenstein, hoping that, hey, this would be a good way to get people to be distracted away from him, but it doesn't work as well as he planned. Because the more that he tried to hide Johnny, the more that everyone around him just falls in love with Johnny, that they actually like him, and that they actually see that they should like humans for the way they are. Which honestly is great that this film does that in this regard, is showing us what, like, you can't, and it's an old saying that even I love, but you can also change it around to something different. But I like the saying you can't judge a book by its cover, meaning you can't judge a person on the outside. Because you can just look at somebody and go, he's an asshole, or she's an asshole, or she's a bitch, or or insert words here. But then once you finally talk to the person, you get to know them, you hang out with them, you begin to see, like, oh my god, I was wrong. This is one of the nicest people that they can ever meet. And unfortunately, I was one of those people that was relentlessly bullied, picked on, and everything. But then when people actually stop to talk to me and get to know me, they know that I'm a very creative, fun loving individual, and that is exactly the creative way that Jenny Tarkovsky, and especially for me that I can relate to him aspect, he makes the viewers at home kind of relate to Johnny in the most creative of ways. Because the film points out, yeah, humans are evil, that's what Dracula thinks. But then when he meets Johnny, his opinion towards monsters actually and officially changes. And his reaction changes, especially when Johnny meets Mavis and the two of them actually fall in love. Or in the movie continuity, so something that they have, it's called a zing.
What's a zing?
Well, it's a thing for monsters. It's kind of like our love at first sight.
What? No.
I love it when movies get creative like that, where they find a special word that basically means its own thing in the film continuity, and zing is actually a pretty good one. It's something easy that people can say and that people can reference. It's probably a lot better than what Mary Poppins gave us, which was supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, which is a word that means anything. Curse you, Walt Disney, for putting that into people's heads. Oh, who am I kidding? I love Mary Poppins as much as the next person. And I thought that was very creative, that zing is basically a monster's way of saying crush or love at first sight. And it's a very creative term to actually use, and I love how the film points it out. Sorry. And something too that I also love, and it, again, going back to the racism segregation thing, is that there are people out there that are like, an African American cannot date a white person or a Caucasian person, or a Japanese individual cannot be in love with a Chinese individual. It's just a dumbest thing that you can ever hear in the world, and I love that Gendy tackled it, especially the other writing team, especially Adam Sandler too. They tackled the topic, but in the most creative and unique way that a child can understand. They're not jamming it down the child's throat at all. Definitely not. But they're trying to show children like you don't need to judge others because it's never a good thing to judge others by the way that they look, the way that they appear to you. It is very much better if you just enjoy your time with the person. Like, don't be like this. Don't judge them before you get to know them. And I absolutely, really do love that. Also, this film has a villain in the world of Quasimodo. Why is Quasimodo the villain of this movie? I don't know. The movie needed a villain, I suppose. Which, unfortunately, even though Dracula was warming up to Johnny, he eventually yelled at him for kissing Mavis and falling in love with her, saying, "How could you do this thing to me after what I've told you?" Because when he had his wife Martha, they were attacked by angry villagers who burned down their home. And tragically and unfortunately, Dracula's wife Martha did unfortunately die during fire. Giving Dracula that sad backstory had been done before, especially in the Marvel Tomb of Dracula comics that's been done too. And I love it for it. It's all the more better. It gives you a reason into why Dracula hates humans. And I said it before, but and the historians know this, is that Dracula, in a weird sense, is kind of a little bit like young Adolf Hitler, and I mean that because Hitler, long before he became the world's most brutal dictator, he was actually going to get an art scholarship, and he was a very creative artist, except he never got the award because they gave it to a young Jewish artist at the time, so he did not win that award. And also, Hitler was very close to his mother, and then when his mother got ill, she was treated by a Jewish doctor, so to which he blamed the Jewish people, all people of Jewism. Is that how you say that? You can correct me if I'm wrong. But he blamed all of them, and then he was just like, screw it, all of them have to die. But, into which case, thank God Dracula does not go on a killing spree. That's what Renfield is for. But I do love the fact that he's just like, that's it, I'm done with humans. And it was nice that they also show us that, like, humans and monsters tried to coexist, and then Dracula just snapped. No more humans. No more world for the humans. No more anything. And that he wanted nothing to do with them. And I do love that. Although I have to question one thing. Why is his wife named Martha? I know that it's kind of a common name, but all I can think of is this.
I was fighting a caged badass. Then I discovered his mom is named Martha, too.
No.
But anyways, it does upset the monsters too that they didn't know that Johnny was a human and that Dracula lied to them, to which Dracula apologized and now realizing that his wife is gone. I love how he's like, I was wrong to hate Johnny after what happened with my wife, so then he goes and tries to track Johnny down and tell him to make it up with Mavis. And I love it too when the monsters all find out that people don't actually hate monsters, they love monsters because we have the gorehound that exists in this world today. So then at Jewish, Mavis and Johnny actually do get married, they fall in love, and they basically try to have a nice life and nice relaxing lifestyle with each other. So do I recommend Hotel Transylvania? Yes, just like Coraline, well, sort of. They can be an introduction to kids into the horror element, so they might actually find something to enjoy here. Unlike so, Coraline is much more terrifying in this regard, so it's kind of like warming them up with Hotel Transylvania, which is not as fucked up as Coraline, then show them Coraline, and if they can handle that, slowly introduce them into different horror movies down the road. And yes, I do recommend Hotel Transylvania. It's one of the best animated movies and one of the best children's horror movies, or well, horror in the category. And I know that people would probably be like, this is not Lazyween material. It's a animated movie about universal horror monsters or just monsters from the mythological past ages of horror. It counts. Shut up. Oh, and which adds to it, Hotel Transylvania is legendary, it's magical, and it definitely holds up as an animated masterpiece, especially 12 years later. That is why my Funko Pop rating of Hotel Transylvania, the original, is going to have to be a Bela Lugosi Dracula because it is legendary out of proportions. I had a feeling that was going to happen. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me at Twitter, link in the description down below. And also hit that bell icon if you want to be notified every single time that I make an upload. And Lazyween is still continuing. Might just have one more family-friendly film in mind that anyone of all ages can watch. And yes, I will get to the other Hotel Transylvania movies in the following Lazyween years. Maybe next year we'll cover Hotel Transylvania 2. But we'll see. So guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching. I believe you would. I want you to keep looking on. Tell me what you think about Hotel Transylvania in the comments down below, and let me know if you'd like to see more the sequel, probably if not next year, the following years to come. So again, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, take care and stay spooky.